This is Gerald van Was. I promised you a second video about the relative dimensions. It sounds quite difficult, but it isn't. I will tell you how the relative idea of horizontal, for instance, can exist, and how they also exist in how we perceive the letter positions and the letter orientations, as we have here a system of 3 times 3 positions, which also all have a horizontal, vertical and diagonal direction. So let's figure out how this works and how this also works in reality and why it is relative. You know already that right and left are quite relative. So for instance, what is right for me, it is at the left for you. And right and left also as words, they are very relative, because in space everything is relative. Even speed in space is relative, because you also have to check out how it is sensed against each other. So that's why, for instance, at the same time, we don't realize speed when everything is at the same speed the whole time. So then we don't sense speed at all. That's one of these aspects as well. Left and right, I already have a couple of videos about that, are also as a word. They are more like concepts that give a certain balance that is which is more practical at the right side or at the left side at a certain point. What at a certain point goes towards me, so in directions it's the same thing. With directions the same thing, how it is perceived when something is going towards me from a common position. For the other person, it is shown as that it goes towards the other person, towards me. For the other person, it is towards you. So all these positions are relative depending on where you stand. And I already had one example. Now I'm also going to talk about the horizontal positions, how they are relative and how they are used in imagining the geometrical aspects of letters and how you can combine them. For instance, you have in the whole first part, it's all about horizontal. So you have here 9 positions of horizontal. So, okay, how can we perceive them? Of course, an advantage is you have 3 times 3 positions. The positions are also comparable to the you start in the middle, you go further away, and you go to the border. So these 3 positions are already 3 sorts of starting points of the horizontal. That's already a very good idea, so that we also have an idea where to orientate ourselves with these horizontals. So the first horizontal should start in the middle in A, a bit further away for U, and at the end for the C. So yes, that is already understandable. But it's the same thing with D, O, and G, and the same with Q, the H and the H. It's the same thing. So how do we... It's also 3 regions. The first region is about space, the second is about directions, and the last one is about context making, time and space orientations. So, but let's first start at the A. In the A we already have that relative position. So also every letter has actually always 3 sorts of aspects. The aspect of, just like the 3 categories, the aspect of focus, which is the point in the middle. So that's my point. Where do you use it for? Of course, in the first category. That's the most important thing. It's our focus. It's in the middle. It's in that point. Secondary, because that's then not so important yet, is the direction. Where is it important? Of course, in the second category, where you have the directions. D, N, Y, O, E, Z, W, G, F, P are all directions. Also in these 3 positions, if you like. Okay, that's already a second part. The last part are the borders. So they are really very relative in the first category of spatial orientations, but they exist there. So how do we perceive A? We focus mainly on the middle, and we know it's going bigger. It can become bigger and smaller, but the borders themselves are unclear, vague. They don't matter. It's trivial. It's so we don't have to give it too much attention. It follows the lead. The lead here is the focus. Secondary is the direction. So if you have the horizontal, you could say, okay, where is it playing in the background? Is it then the whole range? Is that horizontal? That's actually not so important. It can start from there in our orientation as the secondary position horizontal. So that's the frame of the direction. I can start from my starting point and follow a direction that I can do. But then I first start from my starting point and then follow the direction. So that's why I already have a green frame. And it can continue without really clear borders. So that's my first orientation on how I see where the horizontal is associated. So basically it comes from somewhere but it could also start and can come to our point of orientation, or it starts from our point of orientation and can continue. In a way, it is a continuation in the background which you have. That is somewhat the way how to orientate ourselves with the horizontal in A. But how do we use it actually in A? And I will give you an example now. So how do we use the direction? And how relative is it? How relative is it used? And I will give you two examples. The first example will be the word pan. And so let's figure out how we will have to follow the direction of the horizontal here, the horizontal of A. But first we have the letter P. And first we also see what is there important, one of these categories. The P is from the second category. Of course, the second category is about timing, about directions. So what will be more important? The direction. So the direction will lead. Secondary will of course be the starting point focus. So where that it will be our main focus. No, it's not our main focus. Or the starting focus. No, it is already, we are following directions. And also trivial will be the borders. Of course, the borders will be or at least secondary as well from compared to direction. So which is the direction? It is diagonal. So the position is of course, if you have again these 1, 2, 3, it's in the third category, so it's at the top. So we have an orientation on top, and we go to the borders in the diagonal sense. But what is most important is of course the direction. The direction then is P, so we have already the direction. The second letter is A, so there we put the A on top of it, and the A is our focal point, so we will go to that focal point. So that focal point will be the most important, and secondary will of course be the direction. The direction for the object itself and our orientation will of course start from there and horizontally. But the direction of A is secondary to the letter from before, because the letter from before was about directions in time and space, and they were leading, so that will lead all the directions much more. And when you have that frame where it is in, then of course it also means that is my main frame, and that main frame is more important for my directions. So that also means that A is dependent on it, on these directions where it started from. So it will have a feedback process also in the other direction, where it will have that area where it will also be dependent upon on what is happening there and what is actually directing there. So that is something that will show itself, that there is a tendency that you can have the A on its own, but the more important is, and leading will be, the feedback process in the other way now, because it started from P, from the first letter P. The first letter P, that is the area in which the area will lead its direction. So it will also lead the direction of A, but because it comes later, it will have to look to the before, or will look backwards. It will have to show its direction backwards there as well, and there will be the region of P, or Pa. Actually, the Pa will mostly be leading there, so the pressure point of where it can lead to will be led by P, where on top of it lies the A, which could be, of course, with a slightly longer length as well. Now, if the A is leading on top of the P, I have to design it like that. That's, of course, logical. So you have the P and then the A on top. So you have this dependency. This is the place of dependency in P on top on A. A could be a physical space as well. It is at least an orientation of focus. The N after that, if you look at the N, so what is most important there? Of course, also direction. So there will be again a direction. What will this direction be? This direction will be the vertical, so the uplifting, and it will be uplifted only after a time, because it's directed with time. It is a direction, but it's a direction in a time process. So something can be taken out vertically within a time process foundation. What does that mean actually? If you take the pan, you can almost recognize it, because there is a timed process within that pressured range where something can be lifted up. Of course, I now have shown it from the middle, because that is the A starts from the middle. But N itself is also about, it's in the second position. It's about the material, and the positions of the material is here and not exactly in the middle. So the width actually from the N is quite in a quite long, big range, where something in the time process can be uplifted as well. And you can recognize the pan actually, because it's the dependent A is uplifted, where something in it can be in a time process can be taken out as well as N. N means I will give it a function. I will give it I will have some material which I will give a function. Which I will give a function within a timed process. And that's what's happening in the pan actually. Completely well designed and conceived by these letters combinations. Another example where the horizontal is also relative. So you had already the relative direction, because horizontal, okay, that goes into two directions, but you have the directions are always dominating. You can have a direction which is leading, or which is the feedback, so it goes to the other direction. Horizontal, what is the other relative position? It is for instance, in a word like upwards, the horizontal position. The horizontal can also be associated with a confirmation, so it just follows what is already going on, and it continues to go on, just like in A you had it in the background. It's always going on. It has a continuation, and that continuation is horizontally. And how does that come? It's very clear in the word upwards. So basically you would say, okay, horizontal is just, yeah, go forward and that's it. What do we have already? You have, of course, the W already. We know that the W goes diagonally. This is followed by the letter A, so it should actually be followed by a horizontal direction. But we know A is mostly about a position, and that position in the background, there is a horizontal direction. What will this horizontal direction needs to do? It will have to follow the lead directions. What will it do then with the in comparison to the W? Because it will not change its horizontal direction, but it will have to follow it by the leading directions. So what does that mean? It follows the time. W is on time. The time goes horizontally. And so the W, which goes vertically, actually says if you have a time process, or show it like that, if you have a time process, it goes diagonally, and the time process goes horizontally, and it continues to go diagonally. In fact, nothing changes. The W doesn't change by following in a horizontal line. That's how the time goes linear in that part. And it actually says, no, this continues to go forward in time. It continues to do the same in time. And that's the horizontal line of A, which actually is dependent on what will happen in time. So that's also the kind of experience that you have in A. You also expect that always to be, that the linear time is also a constant. But we know, of course, that time can also be seen in 3 dimensions. So that means that there will be variations, that there will be changes in time. And these changes are seen in vertical positions, in diagonal positions. And that is something that will be unexpected in A. And that will be the experiences in A, which will uplift its level and make changes and so on, make changes in its experiences. That can be understood, of course, that things like that can happen. Although from the position of A, it will always go horizontal and we don't expect anything to happen. But things will happen and things will change. But in the case, for instance, of time itself, how we perceive it, compared to things that happen in time, even the diagonal here, if it is a diagonal change in time on the time process, it followed by A, it also means, we will continue to have the same direction in the time process over time, over this linear time in A, so things do not change. Thanks to this constant aspect of time, which is then also basically horizontal as a foundation, in a way it seems that nothing changes or it continues to do the same things over and over again. It means that the direction of A is respected, it continues to count, and like I said, it's secondary. It follows the time and it keeps the things running the same or how they run in time. And that means, and that is the reason why the horizontal direction is basically also about seen from the physical plane as a confirmation of everything, as if everything always remains the same. And in A, that is exactly what we expect it to do. I hope this was also interesting. Thanks again for watching. There are some books there, some web page there with previous videos if you want to check them out. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like. Thanks again. Bye.